What's up guys, and welcome back to another video. Today's video is about the best rugby team in the world, the All Blacks, or as like All Blacks fans like to call it, the mighty All Blacks. Now the reason why I'm doing a video on this team is just to point out a few magnificent things that I've noticed from this team in the past 10 or so years. Now the All Blacks have been dominating world rugby for quite some time, and they've won 3 World Cup championship titles and are on the verge of going for a hat-trick and winning 3 in a row, making it 4, which is truly outstanding. This team has come from various aspects. We know that they were weak at one point, and when I say weak, I don't mean bad. They had their issues in the World Cups, like semi-finals and all that stuff. But then they just caught a wake up. Come 2011, this team has just been dominating world rugby, winning the World Cup and all that jazz. And truly, no one deserves it more. They've really just been immaculate in everything they've done. Now, before I get into the detail of today's video, if you're new here and haven't subscribed yet, please make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and join me on this journey. It honestly is the greatest journey of my life, and the more people joining makes me just happier because I get to interact with so many people around the world. It really is a joy. So please hit that subscribe button as well as the bell notification just next to it. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you will know that I have the utmost respect for all rugby nations out there, and I try to be as equal and non-biased as possible. Obviously, when it comes to South Africa, I tend to be a little bit more, but I mean, who wouldn't? If you're predicting or talking about your own country, everyone's going to favor them. But one thing about the All Blacks that I've really picked up is just how dominant they are in every aspect of the game. Now, in the Rugby Championship, we've seen that they can be beaten and they can be rattled. But I mean, you can't expect a team to be immortal for the rest of our lives kind of thing. This team needs to obviously get beaten every now and then, and we saw it against the Springboks. We saw it last year against Australia and the Lions in that one test. So it just shows that this team isn't immortal. But one thing we need to do as rugby fans is give them the respect that they deserve. What I mean by that is what they've achieved. 3 World Cup titles is truly amazing. 2 at the moment in a row, going for a possible hat-trick. Anything is possible, you never know. But they're definitely firm favourites. But the one thing, as a fan, or a neutral fan, or a fan that's watched this team, and the scary thing is that the backups this team has. Now, Steve Hansen and Graham Henry before that have really developed an outstanding rugby team or rugby nation. Now, the systems in place in New Zealand are truly remarkable. From schoolboy level all the way up to national level, the systems in place in order to get these rugby players right is top notch. Also, the ruling of not allowing players who go overseas to play for their country, that to me is spot on too. You have to be playing in New Zealand in order to play for the nation, and I couldn't agree more with that stat. It's bringing one passion for your country, determination, heart, and it also shows that these players aren't greedy, if you know what I mean. Now, I'm not saying it's wrong to go overseas, but generally when the players go overseas to play rugby, it's because of the money, because the Pro 14, the French leagues, the European Champions Cup, the Premiership Rugby, all of that offers a lot more money than what the players get in Super Rugby, because there's more income and investments based with all the different countries up there to provide, if you know what I mean. And the owners just have stinking loads of money. So that encourages players to go over there. And understandably, money does win a lot of people over. But for me, what I really love and respect about the New Zealand team is that those players are there from day one, born and bred, or have developed and grown up playing rugby in New Zealand and eventually go on. And that's the right way to do it. If we look at South Africa at the moment, and I'm using them because I know obviously the experience from being a fan in South Africa, we now faced with situations where we can't play players because it's out of the international window, and the provincial teams get a say on when or not they can release players. Now, for me, that's utter bull. I know they own the clubs and own the contracts and all that stuff, but if a country is calling you back, to me, you should immediately be allowed to go back. But that's the rules, and that's the way it does. But what I like about New Zealand is that's it. You go overseas, tough luck, good luck to you. You're on your own. You got to play in New Zealand in order to play for your country, and that's why they developed such a great nation. The systems in place and player development between the provincial level to Super Rugby to national is truly outstanding. Now, when I said scary earlier, I mean if you look at the All Black squad, for example, you look at the fullback Ben Smith. If Smith gets injured, you've got Damian McKenzie. If Damian McKenzie gets injured, you've got Geordie Barrett. If Bowden Barrett gets injured, you've got Damian McKenzie, Richie Mo'unga. If the wings get injured, you've got your backups. If Aaron Smith gets injured, you've got TJ Perenara. If Dane Coles, who's currently injured, you got now Cody Taylor. It is truly remarkable what this All Black team has produced and what they are currently producing. And the terrifying thing is a lot of these players that I'm mentioning are young and have a future to develop into the greatest in the world. Look at Bowden Barrett, one of the greatest fly-offs in world rugby. Yes, his weakness is his boot, but he still is the best fly-off in world rugby. Well, definitely one of. You look at Aaron Smith, TJ Perenara, two of the greatest scrum-halves in world rugby. You got Dane Coles, Cody Taylor, two of the greatest hookers in world rugby. You've just got it all in this team, and it's terrifying. And as we go into this World Cup and we see them testing things out, developing, you think the All Black B team, okay, it's a B team. That's still like an A team because of the quality of player within the squad, which is truly terrifying. But it's exciting to watch in its own. Now, New Zealand have been number one for 9-10 years or so, and they've earned the right to be at the top. They've come close to losing it now and then, but they've just kept the momentum up and all that stuff. If we look at South Africa and New Zealand in Loftus last weekend, it was an intense game. South Africa were dominating all ends up. But normally in some teams, if you watch a team get dominated from the first half, it's very, very tough for a team to come back in the second half, let alone the last 10 minutes. But the All Blacks just seem to damn well do it every time, over and over again. And it's not just the All Blacks. If you look at the provincial teams, like the Crusaders and the Hurricanes, it's truly remarkable, and the Highlanders, and even the Blues, I mean all of them, and the Chiefs, sorry. It's truly remarkable at how these teams don't get the choking mentality or the fear of losing. They just get stronger and stronger and stronger. And that is honestly outstanding. Now, obviously, they've lost every now and then. And November is going to be a massive tour time for them. Now, I know a lot of the fans will probably say, but it's more the World Cup, we're going to develop and all that stuff. But for me, I think for that All Black team, this is very important. This November Internationals is going to be truly epic for them. And why I say that is because they're playing England, which alone is going to be a contest. Yes, I know they got beaten by the Springboks and are in a very tough place. They had the worst Six Nations that they've had in a long time. But remember the team that they've got. They've got some quality there. They've got an experienced coach who knows how to get out of tight situations. So you can never count out England. But obviously All Blacks will be favoured to win that. But it will be a challenge. So it's going to be interesting to see how they adapt to that, especially after the toughness of the Rugby Championship that it was. Yes, they won, but they still had a few question marks in a lot of the games, which is something that they need to focus on in November. Then we've got Ireland, which is probably the biggest game of the November International Series. Ireland have a chance of being number one. Are they going to be number one? Stay tuned, because that's going to be my next video of these two rugby nations. But it's going to be a contest. Now, the All Blacks are going to know that they have the chance of losing that number one shot, the number one spot. They're going to know that they could be dethroned. Now, they've had that title or the number one position for so long. Surely it is just as important to them as a World Cup. Obviously, the World Cup is the main thing. But to me personally, I feel this All Black team is going to give it their absolute all to try and hold on to something like the number one ranking. It is important, especially before the World Cup. You will want to go in there as number one. Obviously, sometimes it's good to go in as an underdog or a non-favorite because it's less pressure. But the All Blacks thrive on pressure. They thrive on being the best in the world. And they're going to want to continue that. So for me, this November Internationals is going to be a massive, massive test. But it's also going to be a test to see whether or not they can go all the way and destroy in November Internationals like they've done in the past. Or are they going to struggle and feel a bit of the pressure like they felt just a little bit in the Rugby Championship. But one thing's for sure, this team means business. This team is developing and growing at the right time. And it's terrifying to know what they have on the bench, what they have in store, what they have at club level, and what they have at junior level. This team is only progressing, and I think they're just going to get better and better. I said it in a video now, does the dominance of All Black rugby threaten world rugby? It doesn't threaten. It should encourage the other rugby nations to continue. It should encourage them to change their systems. It should encourage them to try and be like the All Blacks, if not better. And when I say be like it, be consistent. Make less errors. Capitalize on errors from opponents. And play strong rugby. Play 85 to 90 minutes of the game. Yes, I know rugby is an 80-minute game, but sometimes we see the All Blacks go over and win in the 82nd minute. Last week is a very good example of that. So for me, the All Blacks are still the best team in the world. But will they have that title by the end of the year? I've got my thoughts and opinion on that in my next video. So make sure you subscribe for that and have the bell notification on so you don't miss that. Ireland and New Zealand, I have another few ideas coming up on that one. So make sure you subscribe. That will come out sometime next week. So make sure you've hit it. Just the thoughts and to touch base on this awesome team. I've been filled with ideas of rugby videos this week. I hope you guys enjoyed them. If you did, always give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe because there's a lot more coming for you guys. November is just around the corner. World Cup is just around the corner. Hit the subscribe button. Join me on the journey. And I promise you, you will not regret it. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Stay safe and never give up. Cheers.